This is the Drunken Fist podcast. I'm your host, Justin Plavic, and I'm joined by my co-host, David Bordeaux. This podcast is made possible by the fans of the show. For more information, visit drunkenfistpodcast.com/fans. I think I said clom.
Did you say
I said clom. It's com. I'm sorry.
Fair enough. It is.
David gets mad when I go off script here, so.
Well, especially when you start throwing POD in places that it has no place.
Oh, sorry, I forgot. It's POD. That's pod.
And not clom.
That's COM, not CLOM. For those of you that know how to use a computer, I'm still learning.
Speaking of using things, thank you to those super fans who do donate and support the show. Because of this, Justin has been able to upgrade his recording equipment. Well, not his recording equipment, but his microphone and that. So big shout out to all the fans who do support the show. Thank you. And now that Justin sounds so much better, I'm going to have to go ahead and upgrade my side of that as well.
We've made David jealous now, guys. Now that I sound beautiful. Well, I don't think anything's going to make me sound beautiful, but it sounds better.
But I mean, you can technically polish a turd, and Mythbusters did show that you can polish a turd to where it actually looks pretty good. So thank you everybody for polishing Justin's voice.
Turd.
Yes. Your voice turd.
My voice turd.
Oh, I almost got this beard.
I mean, I always feel sorry for people. When I go back and listen to some of these, I'm like, God, that's what I sound like. Jesus.
Man. And, and I appreciate you saying that only because it reminded me that we have had some technical difficulties with the editing and such. And this goes right back to thanking those of you who do support the show, because of your support, we've been able to overcome some of our challenges with software and technical difficulties. So again, thank you so much for your support.
We're still only coming out once every 2 weeks. We can do it once a week if we can get some more support.
Yeah, that is true. But we also have to figure out how we're going to invent a time machine so we can put in more time, give us more time available from after our hard, long hours that we put in as teachers.
Well, I'm going to do an education thing that I've been learning. I heard you say that, David, that you're a little bitch. That's all I heard. I'm sorry. I heard blah, blah, blah. I'm a little bitch. Blah, blah. I'm a bitch.
Yeah, I mean, that is a good educational technique. I think I have learned that in one of our PLCs recently.
That's where I learned it from, in my school. And I'm like, I'm using this one for the podcast.
I don't know, Johnny, but all I heard was blah, blah, blah. I'm a little bitch. Oh, shit.
What are you drinking?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Thank you for the segue. I am drinking. This is an Oktoberfest beer. The name of the beer is Drunken. And it is from West.
Thank you, Jane. What is it?
No, Drunken.
Okay.
It's like a play. It's like a play on saying Dankeschön, but instead it's like. I'm kind of surprised they didn't put donkey chain, but it's Donka chain. And again, it's an Oktoberfest. This is from West 6th Brewing. They are a Lexington, Kentucky brewery. My fiance picked this up for me when she was down near Lexington, a little while ago. And when she saw it, she thought it'd be great for me to drink on the air. So I am now doing that for her. And I have had this when she first brought it home. I really don't remember what the hell it tastes like because it's been a little while. So I'm gonna try it again. So I'm gonna take my drink. While I'm doing that, Justin, what are you drinking?
I'm so excited for this. I've never had it before. I saw it at that Total Wine place, and I've been saving it just for this episode.
No, for our listeners, hold on. For our listeners who don't know what Total Wine is, what are we talking about here? What is that?
Total Wine. I didn't know what the hell it was either until I moved out here. I don't even know if they expand outside of Arizona. They might. But it is a wine/liquor store where pretty much you walk in and it is a mall-sized building that is just filled with wine, liquor, and beer. And then, you got some other stuff in there too.
Right on.
Your seltzers or your ciders and all just kind of random weird shit.
Your hangover cures, I assume.
Well, the hangover cure that I know of is just drinking another beer in the morning.
Right. The whole store is a hangover cure.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm like, what do you mean? I don't know. I don't know any other hangover cures. Bloody Mary. I don't know.
All right. So what is it that you're drinking?
Oh yeah, I got off track there. This is from New Belgium, and it is called the Hemperor. I'm guessing a take on the Emperor. It's got a guy on there. He's holding a goblet. And he's dressed up in hemp leaves, and his beard is made of hemp leaves. I mean, those look pretty awesome.
Okay.
So it says hops and hemp rain. Huh. And what's the bottom here? Together at last. It is a 7% alcohol beer. Oh. And I don't know what they're going for. You know what?
No, okay. I don't. What?
Okay. So it's an HPA. It's their take on an IPA. So instead of the I, the H is the hemp.
Right on. So hops and hemp. Okay.
Yeah, it's actually really tasty. It's a little skunky, but
kind of like certain types of other plant material.
For probably maybe some certain herbal things. Yeah. I don't really know.
Maybe that's related.
I know people that have said stuff like that. You're right.
Right on.
I have friends that are like that, so I'm sure they would help me out with the flavor profile. Well, yeah. You're one of them.
Oh, thank you. I do take showers.
Honestly, the hemp is nice, though. It's a nice balance. So like an IPA can be a little bit much of a bite for some people. Mm-hmm. I still get that bitterness from the hops,
right? But
the hemp actually has a really nice balanced tone to it.
If you had,
even if you hold it up to the light, it's almost like a gold tint with a little bit of yellow in it.
Okay. If you had to try to describe how you were experiencing the hemp, what would you say that it tastes like, the hemp?
Maybe just a little bit stronger. No, because it's subtle. That's where that subtle skunky flavor is coming from.
Okay. Gotcha.
I'm not going to say anything more because I don't.
Right on.
Well, I don't feel like going that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely got a skunky flavor. It's not like skunky like a Heineken
beer, like Heineken can be.
Yeah. Ugh. No, Heineken's pretty gross. My neighbor loves that shit, but I hate it.
When I was in Iraq and for the Super Bowl, like we were not allowed to drink alcohol at all. But however, for the Super Bowl, our unit, somehow, I mean, like, I guess this is a thing and it happens. I've only been deployed once, so this was new to me, but we somehow got permission to drink beer and we were allowed to have 2 cans each. And I don't remember what the other brands were, but I knew Heineken was one of them. And I had heard that Heineken, on the other side of the Atlantic, like not our side here in the US, but on the other side, Heineken tastes a bit different. And here in the US, I've definitely had skunked Heineken and I've had Heineken that was not skunked. And Heineken on its own, if you like that kind of beer, I mean,
is already skunky.
Well, no, it's not. It's not. However.
Oh, but maybe I've just always had old Heineken.
Well, here's the thing. Like when you drink beer in bottles that are light colored, light can affect the beer, which tends to skunk it. Also, if a beer goes from varying temperatures within a period of time, that also can skunk beers. But typically, beers that are served or stored in light colored bottles tend to get skunkier, and it has something to do with the light getting to it. But again, if you have a warm beer, make it refrigerated and then bring it warm again and refrigerate it, that too can also skunk it. But yes, Heineken is known for having this skunky kind of flavor, and it is most often due to the light colored bottles that it comes in. But I have had Heineken that wasn't skunked, which surprisingly is hard to come by. But I've had it when it's not skunked, and it's an okay light beer, light as in light tasting beer. It's not. I mean, it's not my typical beer, so I can't say that I like it, but I don't dislike it. I definitely don't like it when it's skunked. So anyway, when I was in Iraq, we had the opportunity to, drink 2 cans of some sort of beer, and I saw that they had Heineken, and I heard that on that side of the Atlantic, Heineken tastes different than what we get here in the U.S. And it did. Now, I can't tell you that I enjoyed it more because I was in Iraq, because I definitely can't tell you that I couldn't, because, being deployed, we're not allowed to drink. So several months without drinking. So sometimes the first beer you have can sometimes taste good, but it did taste different. And I do recommend trying Heineken closer to the European area, if possible. But yeah, I too am not a big fan of Heineken, and and then one of the biggest reasons happens to be is that most often in the U.S. it tends to be skunked, and it's really sad that sometimes Heineken drinkers that do get skunked Heineken, they have come to appreciate that taste, and when they've had good Heineken that doesn't have that skunked flavor, they don't.
Then they don't like it.
They don't like it, and I'm like, what in the what are you doing? But
it's like me when I was a little kid. Like, I loved Taco Bell, and then when I went to an authentic Mexican restaurant, I was like, this is disgusting.
The authentic Mexican is disgusting. I mean, okay, yeah. Gotcha. Yeah.
Because more Taco Bell. Yeah. It's totally authentic in Taco Bell, don't you think? I mean,
well, it's authentic Taco Bell. Yeah. And any other place isn't. So this Donka chain, beer.
Donkey chain.
They really should call it Donkey chain just to really kind of go with the name,
or Donkey Jane.
But apparently you've never heard people say donkey chain instead of saying Dankeschön when they were trying to say thank you.
I mean, I don't speak to a lot of Germans.
Well, Germans wouldn't say donkey chain. Just dumb Americans who make fun of other people and languages. But anyhow.
Oh, well, then I definitely don't talk to those Americans.
You're good. You're smart. I try to stay away from them, but they keep coming in my life.
Well, that's a problem.
This beer is pretty decent. It is in the style of Oktoberfest. I would not say that it truly is an Oktoberfest, but it's definitely in the style, and I like it. And I'm not even going to try to pretend like I know how to pronounce the proper name for the style of Oktoberfest beers, because one, it's not in front of me, and I have not been able to pronounce that correctly. So rather trying to embarrass myself making it up since I can't see it. It is definitely a lager. It's not dark, flavor wise or even color wise, but there's definitely some body to it. There is some maltiness to it. Slightly, I guess, biscuity or bread-like. But yeah, it's definitely good. I am interested to try more beers from the West 6th Brewing Company out of Lexington. So if you happen to know anybody from West 6th Brewing and or you are from there, feel free to get in contact with me, because I'd be more than happy to drink more of your beer and try it on the air. Yeah, so anything else before we get into the topic?
No, I'm ready to drink more of this beer.
Well, let's get drinking. The topic today is working with difficult martial arts students.
I can't wait.
I have some experiences that I can definitely share, but I would like to know, Justin, what inspired this topic for today? What inspired this? Because this one came from you.
Yeah, it did. Well, I was just thinking, as a teacher, I've been getting really frustrated with some of my students, and I've been frustrated with students in the past. It's always going to happen.
Now, when you say teacher, let's clarify, what type of teacher are you referring to? Are you referring to it as an academic teacher or a martial arts teacher?
Both.
Okay.
So I thought sharing our stories and maybe how we handled some of the situations, or how we didn't handle some of the situations, might help other instructors out there that more than most likely have what they would consider a difficult student.
Well, it could even help. Just trying to talk and drink at the same time apparently doesn't work. It can potentially also
do one or the other.
It can also potentially help students too, because I know that I have learned quite a bit from the experience of other students, and if I had an opportunity to, when I was coming up in the ranks, to listen to something like this, I know that I would find it valuable, because if I find myself doing some of these things, then, I can work to change, or I can definitely make sure that I stay away from certain things as well. But I'm gonna let you start us off, because I'm not sure which kind of direction you would like to go first.
Yeah, no. All right. Well, you know me, I'm always a story guy.
Yeah, good.
On a faraway galaxy.
Faraway one.
Right. Yeah, a faraway one. Not this one, a faraway one. If you didn't know, I'm an alien robot.
You're something.
So, yeah. Fuck you. Anyway. The one story that comes to my mind, and actually this is from a different point of view. I got a couple to go either which way, but when I first started the club, there was a gentleman there. We'll call him Bob.
Which kind of club?
That wasn't his name.
For our listeners who may not.
Oh, yeah, that's right. If you weren't listening to our first 800 episodes, I used to run a martial arts club on the Bowling Green State University campus for during college. I started doing it my freshman year and then continued on even after I graduated a little bit, just to stop by and say hi.
You're a nice guy.
But, well, this student, I didn't have a problem with him. I don't know what everybody's deal was. I guess I could see it from their side. He was just a really excitable guy, and he did not have that control. So people were afraid to work with him. So anytime they were doing locks or throws, or maybe even any sort of striking techniques, he did go a little too hard, and he did hurt some students. After I left, I was hoping that he could learn some control and they could continue working with the guy, because he was really talented. He just went a little hard during practice, and he didn't do it on purpose. I could clearly tell that. That's why I never, had a conversation with him, except for, hey, could you try and do it just a little softer for those people that, may not be able to handle that type of aggression just yet. Right. And he would try. But after I left, they tossed his ass to the wind. And I found out a little later, and when they were telling me, they're like, yeah, we're going to get rid of this guy. And I'm like, okay. I mean, I don't have a say in it. I'm not a student there anymore. So, I mean, you guys are your guys is kind of a show right now, if that's what you think. But I was really upset at that, because, when they told me his reaction and stuff, and I'm like, well, yeah, you just took away one of the things that he really enjoyed. That'd be like somebody kicking me out of a dojo. And instead of working with him and just giving him a student that could handle it, and maybe even coach him that had a little bit more experience, then he could have, imagine what he could have achieved. Right. So I regret not being able to work with that difficult student a little bit more. And it was always kind of a shame after I left. And you know what? I kind of ignored it too when I was there. I wasn't, my main priority wasn't, hey, I'm going to teach this guy control. My main priority was for the class. So it kind of reminded me of our education system too. It's like sometimes we let a kid slip through the cracks. And it was kind of depressing to think about. But that was that side of the story. Oops, sorry about my mic. It is new. It's in my face.
Still getting used to it. Can't wait to take the training wheels off.
I am. Well, eventually. Let's just keep them on for right now, though. But that guy, he could be considered a difficult student, but for everyone else, I didn't see him as a difficult student. So
was he the one who was putting you in the excessive force locks or the excessive striking and that? Well, so, no. I mean, I can see how you wouldn't find him troublesome, but
right.
the people on the receiving end.
I mean, I could see it. to me, it didn't seem any harder than a person trying it for the first time that's never done martial arts before. Because you always have that guy that goes just a little bit too hard and gets really into it because it's like, yeah, it's my first time. Watch this arm lock. Boom. Oh, it's like, all right, you almost broke that guy's arm. So maybe not do that next time. Okay. Save that for the street. Don't do that to the, your training partner, and then you don't have anymore.
When it comes to thinking about this, gentlemen, what do you think was the greatest challenge that needed to be resolved with him?
Getting everybody to accept him.
Okay.
And I couldn't do it. I didn't do it because they kicked his ass out. But I even tried.
But when you were there, what could have been a good way to resolve the situation? Now, as we can look back from the safety of not being in that position and not being in the center of it, thinking back, what might have been able to have been done either differently or just at all to have helped the situation?
Right, and that's where I was going next. I'm glad
there you go. There's your transition. If you wanted to, I didn't want to.
Well, yeah, we'll do it now. For me, and this is why we're doing this topic, just to give people advice if they ever have a situation like this. Looking back on it, and obviously I'll never know because I haven't had this situation happen at all recently. So, but I think I could have gone out of my way as the instructor to actually be his uke. And I think sometimes as instructors, we don't really want to be the uke because it's like, well, we've done our time in the trenches. I don't want to be uke. It's somebody come here so that you can be uke. I'll show you how to do it. I don't want to get thrown around right now. But I think I could have humbled myself a little bit more and did more of a one-on-one with him. Because, I mean, in the education world, there's always that one-on-one that helps the student the most. When you have a whole group and you're struggling with a certain area that the other group isn't, you don't want to leave them behind. And that's exactly what happened to him. He got left behind. And I relate everything to education just because that's my profession.
I mean, you're not alone in that, because that too is my, what I do. That's my day job. Is I'm a teacher. So
right.
I had a thought.
Yeah, how would have handled the situation? I'm curious. Like, I would have done more one-on-one with him and told everybody else, just like, chill out, go do your thing. We'll be over here. And then slowly integrate him into a new partner that could maybe handle it if he accidentally went out of control.
That really would be my first thought, would be to be the one to work with him, especially if other students are either complaining or at least showing some form of not wanting to work with him. I mean, obviously I would figure out what the issue is. And it sounds like you understood what the issue was, which is him going a little bit too far or too hard, not meaning to, of course. I think that I would have done what I could to work with him when I could, and have shown maybe the difference, like, not only here is the way that we approach this technique or whatever, so that way he can understand it and maybe work a little bit harder with me. And at the same time, I would work with him to feel and experience what he is giving to others right now. It's kind of like, hey, this is what this feels like if we go a little bit too hard. This is why we need to back off a little bit. But assuming that I would have the ability to take what he is dishing out. And I only say that because I have no idea how hardcore he was.
He was actually a pretty stout guy. Like, he was short, but he was strong.
Right. And so, pretty much your thought of working with him would have been my first thought, both on the, let's teach him how to do the technique, and let's teach him how to receive it, especially if he's working with somebody like himself. And it's kind of like, hey, this is what it feels like. So we need to back off a little bit here, just so we can get through the mechanics, and go slow. I would have probably also have, that's really my only thought at this time. And then, of course, as time went on, I would have reevaluated the situation. Can I have him work with maybe a slightly higher rank? I don't mean slightly higher. I mean, like, whatever the higher ranking individual is in the room who has had a little bit more experience. Could I maybe have him partner up with that person and kind of work, and then get the feedback from that higher ranking individual and develop a program? Now, I'm going to take this and kind of relate it to my experiences that I have right now working at the charter school, because while I am a physical education teacher at a charter school, I happen to be the form of physical education that I do is martial arts. So, I teach martial arts to kindergarten through 8th grade, and I have a wide variety of people. What I experience, though, that can be kind of a challenge is I don't...
Sorry, I bumped the mic.
Yeah, I know. You're getting used to it. It's the training wheels. Sorry, everybody.
Well, I'm also been drinking, so I kind of like started leaning into it.
Like, what the challenge that I tend to experience, though, is it's okay if I have one person like that, because I can bring a little bit more personalized attention to that individual to help them. The trouble that I'm experiencing is that working at a charter school, which is very different than a typical martial arts school, whereas in a typical martial arts school, you're going to have about 80% or so of people who want to be there, be it people who are paying their own bill or children who have parents or whoever paying the bill. And you'll have about like around 20% or less who don't want to be there. Well, in the charter school, I have about maybe 10 to 15% who really want to do martial arts. The rest of them don't want anything to do with it. And the challenge that I have then is, let's say I have a student like the student you were just saying. Okay, so one-on-one would work. However, I have another student who just isn't getting it at all. They are technically all left feet, and they have no idea if they even have hands. And then I have another student who really likes one aspect but doesn't like another, and they feel defeated because they can't quite get anything, so they just don't want to do anything. So I have the challenge of working with multiple students who have different needs, who I'm not able to do one-on-one with. So I guess while I kind of stole your thing and just transitioned to one of the challenges that I have, how would you go about, or like even just brainstorming some ideas, what would be some ways that you would work to help, let's say 5 different students who have varying issues or challenges, when you also have a whole group of students that don't want to be there? What ways would you work to help these individuals when teaching class?
I think what comes to my mind is, kind of reminds me of my students. I mean, everybody's got their different love and hate of social studies, mm-hmm. and then everybody's got their different degrees of how they learn. I think to target the good kids, you would group them up. You can group them up in a couple of different ways. You could spread out those, say, 5 kids, mm-hmm. and have 4 different groups and just split your classes in 4s. And each of those 5 kids in that group, make a round robin where everybody is doing a certain activity, but it's different than the other groups. But those are the leaders. So they help while you walk around, teach the other mm-hmm. kids. That way they're getting the opportunity for a little bit higher. They're getting the curriculum. They have a little bit more rigor because it's their job to teach it now and run that station while you kind of monitor the situation. So if a kid's being an ass, you can be like, all right, look, go do like 20 push-ups. You have a whole group here that's working and you're not working. So you need to go over there for a little bit and take a time out. But if you're able to give those kids a role in something that they love, not only are they going to love it more, but they'll also have an opportunity to enrich the other kids. Maybe the other kids will start to catch on like, oh, well, I want to do that. I want to be the one to teach.
That's something that I have noticed, because what I currently do is we have different segments, because in the school system that I teach, we have very specific requirements in some areas, but we have very specific requirements for the martial arts department, or in the fitness department. And so what I'll do is I will, as a group, go through whatever it is that we're going through, and then I'll have them practice it on their own. And then I will go through and around, and I will do my best to hit each individual, not hit them, but to work with the...
Please don't hit your kids, David. You'll lose your job.
Yes. And that's a whole nother topic, which is really crazy, because like we're not allowed to spar with our students, even light sparring. And that just blows my mind, but I get it for liability.
Oh, you can't?
No, but we'll
oh, Jesus, even I can, but it's also an after school club. So.
Yeah, well, mine is not after school, but anyway, so I will go through and I will do what I can to work one-on-one, even for a little bit, with those students who have challenges. And I do what I can to pull my higher ranking, or even if they're not higher ranking, but higher technical ability students to work with those that are having some challenges. And I appreciate you sharing the idea of, breaking them up into groups and kind of like going through stations, if you will. And I say that because I'm noticing that just yesterday we had a PLC, which for those who don't know, in the teacher sphere of things, it's a peer learning community.
It means It means a long meeting that you're probably not paying attention to.
Oh God. You know what? Now I'm going to totally get off topic. So yeah, it was ours yesterday was a 4-hour meeting, and we have 3 fitness instructors at our school, because we have 3 different sports that we teach. I do martial arts. There's a soccer teacher and a tennis teacher. And that 4-hour meeting was 95% for the academic teachers, dealing with math scores, like the national math scores, even Ohio, or the Ohio-centric scores, the reading scores and all this, and how we can improve in that. And while I did take some information away, because I want to help my students however I can, even though I'm teaching martial arts, if I can figure out how to help them improve in whatever way I can in math or reading or anything else, I will do it. So I took some stuff, but yeah, almost 4 hours, and 95% of it had nothing to do with us fitness instructors. And I'm just like, what? But anyway, getting back to the point, PLC stands for Peer Learning Community, where teachers come together and we talk about different things that we need to do, can do, and that we can learn from others. And one of the, and this is kind of like one of the things that came from me listening to the math and the reading areas that we are working hard to get our students to go through, is that in the academic classroom, when they are doing like reading or math things, the academic teachers will split up their children into not study groups. I can't remember what they call them, but into other groups. And then they would cycle the students throughout the class. The students would go from section to section, and one section,
like intervention.
No, it's not. It's not an intervention. It's just think of maybe like 10 to 15 minutes worth of instruction, just in general instruction to everybody. And then the students would be split up into, I think they even said 4 groups, but let's just say, let's say 4 groups. And one group would be working on one type of activity that dealt with the instruction. Group 2 would be working on a different type of activity that had something. And then 3, and then would do their own thing.
Oh, that's just the cooperative learning part.
And then group 4 would actually, it only have about maybe 4 or 5 students, but those 4 or 5 students would be working not one-on-one with the teacher, because it's 4 to 5 students, but it would be a very small group learning thing. At that point.
It's called individual practice.
Okay, sure. Yeah, that actually sounds
right. I mean, that's what we call it. The vocabulary is, no, seriously, the education vocabulary is everywhere. When I came to Arizona, they call I call it bell work. They call it the anticipatory set. I'm like, I've never heard that in my life. So, all right.
But yeah, the individual or whatever the hell you just said, that first one, yeah, that's what they do. But the thing that I started thinking is, I mean, that kind of seems to be like a reoccurring concept that potentially could help where I'm having challenges. The greater challenge that I have, though, is I don't know how I can gainfully employ these students when they are split up on their own, so I can work with maybe, say, the 5 that really are having their own challenges, and then as they cycle through, because since 80% of my students or more do not want anything to do with martial arts, can't stand it, if I am not directly working with them or as a full class, they end up doing all kinds of dumb things. And so that's kind of like a challenge that I have. But I have worked to have the higher ranking individuals, or at least higher technical ability students, working with some who, who need a bit more help. So I appreciate.
And you know what? That's where classroom management comes in too. Like, I find it's very, like, when they get into groups, I mean, they get a little loud. So, especially in just a classroom. I know you have a setting probably where you have your dojo.
You don't even know.
But I bet. So, I can't even imagine what the echo is going to sound like in your kind of room.
But like, not even the echo. It's just But yeah, and it is rough, because when it does come to classroom management, I hit all of the things that are traditionally accepted in an academic setting, or even in a physical education setting with regards to classroom management. It's if I am not directly working with the full group, that's when things tend to break down. And I, even though this year has been really good, and like a lot less has happened this year. So it's like, I really haven't changed my classroom management style. I mean, I've done tweaks and adaptations, but I really haven't done too much. The overall has become better, but it's like, what can I do? Like, I think that
So you're asking yourself really quick. Have you ever tried asking your students, like, what can I do to make martial arts better, and be serious?
Yeah. And the answers they give are just, like, let's
right.
Do
you got to really stress the serious. Yeah. That's why I said you got to stress the seriousness part. Like, seriously, like, you got to tell them, like, you are here. How can we make the best of it? And you still come out and learn something badass.
Yeah. I would like to be able to have them answer in a positive way. I have found that when I approach them, and this is something, okay, so this next part is how I've dealt with troubled students, or students who have been difficult in the past. So this is actually a suggestion for people who may experience this next part. Is what I have done is I go out of my way when I'm not in class actively. And even if I'm walking through the halls, or I see the kids in lunch or something, I'll go out of my way to talk with a student, even if it's saying, hi, how is your day going? How is this class going? How is that? And I let them know, and I work to help them understand that I really care about them. I am there for them, because, with my students, we have some students, like a lot of our students are not well off at all, be it financially, be it environments at home and stuff. And some of our students just don't have anybody that happen to be there to care for them. At least some of them feel that way, So I
have a scenario.
So I do what I can to go out of my way to let them know I care about them. I'm thinking of them, and I really do have an interest in them, and going out of my way to make sure that I gain that rapport with them. Hopefully I'm gaining rapport, but at least let them know that I care. And it's a genuine care. It's not, oh, hey, there's a teacher. The teacher must say hi. The teacher must say, are you doing well in your studies, Jimmy? It's not that. It's, I genuinely care. And I reflect some of the things that they have told me before. Like, if they say that they've had a basketball game, I'll ask them about how did their game go? What kind of things happened? What was your most favorite part of that? And that idea of building relationship has really helped in some areas. And I think back to when, I
have you, I mean, I know you have like that little, have you tried the 2 and 2?
What's that?
I knew you were going to ask, and that's why I set it up.
No, you didn't. Shut up.
Yeah. The 2 and 2. So you pick 2 students every day and you talk to them separately. You take 2 minutes out of your day, not just a casual conversation. Take 2 minutes out of the day and talk to them about anything but school or anything towards academics, and just talk about what they like and try to get into it. And if you do that for about a total of like 10 minutes, so like throughout the week, and you keep doing it, your rapport actually grows amazingly.
That is kind of like what I was describing when I said that I will go through it. At the same time, though, I have asked about academic stuff. There are times where when I don't, what?
I said bummer.
Oh, yeah. There are times where I will talk about things that have nothing to do with academics because I want them to know that I truly care and I truly understand. And that idea goes to something that when I co-owned a dojo, we had a student that, while he was technically mine, excuse me, this beer is a little bit gassy.
A little bubbly.
A little bubbly. We had a student that my business partner, who was the chief instructor or the head guy or whatever, my partner would advance this student, even though I definitely did not feel that the student was ready. And I don't know why my partner did this. And it was really tough because this created a situation where the student kept putting forward the same amount of effort, which really wasn't much, and began to expect promotion. In other words, he felt like entitled because it's like he didn't put forward any greater amount of effort to become better. And when it came time to promote, well, he expected it. And there's been a couple of times where he was not promoted and he was furious because the effort that he put forward before got him where he could promote. And I worked to help him to understand. It's like, hey, what got you here? You keep doing that same thing. It won't get you there. It won't get you to that next level because you need to step up. You need to do
right. To me, that's just enabling.
And unfortunately, the student got so far as to try to rank for to work to earn his black belt, and he failed. And it got to the point where we had to have one-on-one intervention where we took our secondary black belt who volunteered to teach with him privately without any sort of compensation above and beyond. And so this second degree black belt really put his heart into training this kid and the student. And there's been some times where I would take my time out to work with him, and he just wasn't there. And what happened is, even before we got to that point, over time, the student became a student who would cause problems in class because he just wouldn't put the effort in. He would kind of half do it. Other students would look at him and go, oh, okay, well, he's not doing anything. So they would kind of put half effort in. We had to work to pull the other students up. It's like, hey, other people's experiences are not yours. Other people's goals are not your goals. You need to align yourself with the goals that you have and put into practice the things. Well, he earned a XYZ belt. And like, I understand he's on his own journey. You are also on your own journey. But that situation. He became,
I bumped the mic. I'm sorry.
I heard. But that student became what I would consider like a difficult student, because as he was coming up the ranks, where I don't feel he should have, but hey, whatever. I wasn't the head instructor, and it was what it was. He got to a certain expectation, and he almost to the point like where he even kind of started to go backwards with effort. And
well, that's what happens. They get upset. They've already been entitled to what they think they deserve, and then they start quitting. Because it's a baby thing. It's a baby mentality where it's like, I can't get my bottle.
Right. And what was really tough is like when I was talking about the rapport thing, and you were even saying the 2 and 2 or 2 on 2?
I think it's 2 and 10. You do it. Sorry, I said it wrong. So you pick a student and you talk to them for 2 minutes for a total of 10. Gotcha. So like throughout, yeah.
Okay.
Well, 5. Because
all right,
2 times 5 is 10. And I'm not even a math teacher. Look at me go.
Well, that's why you're a social studies teacher. We'll make up the rule, whatever the hell it is. We'll see. And here's the thing:
it's 2 and 10. Okay. It's 2 and 10.
So the thing that I reflect back to is, had I gone out of my way to actually gain more rapport with this student, I hopefully would have been able to understand where he's coming from, regardless of the reason why he was or was not promoted at times. I mean, that's not for me to be for other reasons, I have reasons to be concerned. But the thing is like, the student is where the student, or the student was where the student was. And that's it. Like nothing at that moment was going to change the situation. So what I could have done at that time was to gain as much rapport as possible to help to understand where he's coming from, what his motivations are, why he's even in class. And I knew why he was in class, because his parents really wanted martial arts to get the discipline into him and get all this stuff, all this marketing stuff that our industry, martial arts industry has developed and packaged and shined up and said, here, if you are a martial arts instructor, tell people this, and it's like some of that, but that's a whole nother show. But the thing is that I didn't gain rapport with this individual. I actually kind of cringed anytime he was in class because because
we developed that, and it's so bad because, there's been so many students where I have done the same thing where it's like, I don't want to be around you, where that for me as a teacher, that was wrong to do. I should have taken the time to build a relationship, because building that relationship and building that rapport is directly contacted to how they motivate themselves and how you can motivate them.
And something that's really important is that there are times where martial arts instructors will have students just up and quit. And we have no idea.
All the time. I've had students quit numerous occasions.
And the thing is, like, we have no idea
why.
My
club used to be like 40 people. No, yeah.
But here's the thing.
Because we don't take the time to reflect.
Sometimes we don't take the time to reflect, but sometimes we keep it insular. We do not go and find out. We think that we understand where our students are. And to a point we do. However, sometimes as instructors, we do not go and to take time to find out what's going on in their lives. And sometimes, and I've seen instructors do this, and it feels like sleazy car salesman, because it's kind of like well, why aren't you coming to class, Johnny? It's like, no, don't fucking talk.
Oh, we see that too often.
Like, don't fucking talk to him like that, because clearly then it's like when I see it as an instructor, I feel that you only care about why Johnny didn't come to class because of your.
What you should be saying is everything right? Is everything okay? I haven't seen you in a while.
Right?
Is there something I need to know about? Not why aren't you coming to class?
and to take genuine interest in the person as opposed to just as the martial arts student. And had I done that with the student that I was talking about that was promoted and kind of got like this entitled mentality, and had I understood the student rather than cringing and kind of going, oh, that person, well, I just got to deal with it. It's like, I know that I possibly could have helped the situation. I don't know that I could have gotten him to legitimately earn his black belt, because when our second degree black belt was working with him essentially for free as a private instructor, and then when I would work with him, at that point, he was busting his ass because he knew his dad was upset because his dad felt that he should have earned his black belt. because pretty much his dad's experience.
Well, of course.
Yeah, well, because his dad's experience is, well, this student has, my son has always been putting forward the same amount of effort, and he's been getting promoted, and now he's putting the same amount of effort forward. Why isn't this enough for a black belt? And
he's already classically conditioned to accepting.
Right. And the sad thing is that his dad was a professor. So,
that's even worse. Well, okay, hold on. Professors don't know how to teach. You don't have to be an educator to be a professor. You just have to have a doctorate degree.
Right, dude, just stop right there. We're gonna throw down. But here's the thing, though.
Right.
But here's the thing. Well, no. See, now I'm going to go on a completely different argument, and this is going to take us away from the working with.
No, we'll save it for another one.
Something. Anyway, go ahead, man.
How about let's do our takeaway.
Well, hold on. Do you have any more topics before? Because I just ate up 35 minutes worth of my stuff.
Right. You did, but we're getting late here.
I know. So
I think we might have, I was thinking about just doing a part 2 on this because I have so many fucking tough students.
Well, let's talk about one more of yours.
All right. I'll go with this one. This one was my favorite tough student, and it was just being stupid and out of my control.
Okay.
So I kind of usually in college, I only taught up to college students and adults. Mm-hmm. And kids were starting to come into my class.
Define kids for me, please.
Let's see. 6 years old, young high schoolers, like 9th grade.
Okay.
And I'm like, I didn't have enough little tiny kids, below the age of 12 mm-hmm. to even start a whole class. So I'm like, you know what? I heard of the Shaolin monks just integrating, when they get a 6-year-old or a 5-year-old or whatever, they just train their kids with their adults. Mm-hmm. They don't have a separate kid and adult class. Everyone trains together.
Right.
So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do the same thing. And I got this 6-year-old coming in, and little girl, super funny. She was cracking me up. And I'm like, I'm going to try it out. And I told the mom, I'm like, you know what? I don't have a kids class. I have an adult class, but I have no problem trying to see how she does with the adult class. Mm-hmm. And her attention span was fucking hilarious. It was try a move. And it was the best part too, because I had some students that were older than me. Right. And by their respects, probably outranked me in other arts, but they just wanted to restart and to do different stuff. Right. And this poor guy, I'm just going to call him out. It's Scott Martin. He's one of my favorite people I've ever met. And he is chasing this kid around while I'm teaching. And I'm just looking at Scott like, yeah, don't worry about it. Just let her run around. But the mom comes back and she's like, well, how'd she do? And I just look at her. I'm like, it's not going to happen. She's like, was she bad? I'm like, no, she wasn't bad. She's just too young.
She's just
so here's what I'll do for you. Right. And I told her, I'm like, I'm not going to lie to you. I usually just teach adults. This is the youngest I've ever taught. But here's what I'll do for you. I will teach her one-on-one. And I'll make a separate class. And if there happens to be more younger students that come in, we can just throw them into this. But for now, we can just call it private lessons. And I charge her the same as I would an adult. Mm-hmm. I didn't go oh, private lessons, here it comes, $200 an hour.
Right.
No, nothing like that. I never got into martial arts for the money. I always did it just because I wanted to share my knowledge.
Right.
And that's why I'm a teacher too. I just want to share my knowledge. But I think that was the key for me. And then I have never understood what patience meant until this young child, because I realized that I'm not good with little kids. I'm not.
Right.
And you know what? I feel kind of stuck because I teach middle school where I should be teaching college or even just, 11th, 12th grade. Okay. But, the past few years have been quite a challenge for me because I can't handle that immaturity or that their mind is still growing, their body's still growing. They're trying to figure out who they are.
Right.
But it was so funny because watching this little kid try and kick and punch in the air or kick and punch a bag, I'm just like, in my head, I'm like, this is ridiculous. Why am I doing this? I'm wasting my time. I'm wasting her time.
Right.
This is a joke. And she was difficult, man. She'd just be running around like, tag, you're it. And I'm like, oh, Jesus, here we go.
That's not what we're doing.
And you know what, too? I messed up. I would yell. I'd be like, get over here now.
Right.
And this was in my younger teaching days too, so it wasn't like
I really I would really like if you had the opportunity to come to Columbus during the school year and come in.
Oh, you want me to? As a guest instructor?
Even as a guest instructor, but even just to watch how differently I teach.
Oh, I'm not coming all that way. Just to watch you.
No, you can totally guest teach, but it's like, I would really like for you to watch how I teach the younger students, like the K through 3, maybe even K through 4 versus the 6th through 8th.
Because it's super
gosh.
different.
I mean, hell, even K through 2, which is a typical grade band, K2, it's like you have kindergarten, then you have first grade, which is essentially like kindergarten 2.0. Then you have second graders, which are usually still put in the grade band of K2, where the second graders have they're still evolving away from the first grade mentality, but you can definitely tell that there's a change, but they definitely don't have the maturity that third graders do. In third grade, fourth, and about fifth, that's actually a pretty good grade band because like that kind of flows pretty well. The maturity obviously does change and the ability to do certain physical things change and their psychological concepts become a bit more not solidified, but you can experience the difference. But the K5 grade band is actually pretty good. It's divided pretty well. But yeah, K2, because you have kindergarten, you have first grade, which is like kindergarten 2.0. And then you have these second graders that are kind of like in this, I don't know, nebulous state, I guess. But then you have 6 through 8 which really does, it's like, yeah, they are a grade band and they make sense. But it's like, it'd be really cool if you had the opportunity to come to Columbus during the school year, come in to be a guest instructor and to experience the difference of teaching and like not just to be like, hey, this is how I teach, this is the way it is, but just to even see the differences because the soccer coach at our school, he's taught K through 8 because he's been in our school system, but he's new to my particular school. He is used to teaching middle schoolers and working to deal with like K through 5, K through 6 has been kind of a challenge for him. And he's like, man, when you teach the younger ones, you act more animated and you use, your vocal level to gain attention. Cause there's times that like, it seems
exactly. And that's exactly what I've noticed with middle schoolers. Like the more animated you are, the more likely that they are going to pay
But it also depends on the type of animation that you do. Because you can be quirky cartoon character and that falls flat. However, I
just do more of a goofy, like I'm already naturally a goofy person. So it's like, why am I trying to be uptight right now? I'm just going to be goofy.
Dude, you definitely need to come to Columbus during the school year. I don't know what you're going to do for your school and how the hell you're going to get here, but you definitely need to come in. And that'd be cool. But
I doubt they'll let me off.
We really should wrap this up. Definitely let's do a part 2 to this. Okay, no problem.
Hold on. Yep. I didn't get to finish the little girl. No, it's okay. It's okay. It's not your fault. It is.
All right. Anyway,
I'm just trying to be we got to do morals here of the story or takeaways. But with the little girl, when teaching her, yeah, her strikes and kicks were horrible. But here's the thing. I've never really been a striker. I can do it, from the Wing Chun. It's great. I think I'm on a high speed camera doing like 22 punches in 2 seconds, but that's not impressive. I've seen people do faster. For those of you that don't remember Sensei Mike in any earlier episodes, he is a great friend of mine, amazing martial artist, Udansha rank in at least 3 different arts, probably more. But he was at the dojo where I was teaching at with this little girl, and he came in one day for getting ready for his class, and he was hanging out with me, and he's like, and I'm like, oh, Sensei Mike, she could totally use a partner right now. And he's like, and Sensei Mike being Sensei Mike was like, okay. And you've met Sensei Mike. He's not going to let you do something no matter what age you are. And we do some kicks, we do some punches. He's holding the mat. And he's just looking at me like, I don't know what you're teaching her, but this is awful. And I'm like, I know. And we're just telepathically talking like in How I Met Your Mother. And we're just like, I know, I am trying my best. I don't know what to do. And then I tell her to do some locks. And a 6-year-old kid, throws Sensei Mike to the ground with a wrist lock. And he looks at me like, okay. And, I talked to him after and he's like, I'm like, yeah, I know her strikes and kicks suck, but she's a pretty good locker. And he's like, well, from my knowledge, you're a really good locker. So that makes sense. And I'm like, okay, I see what you're saying. But the moral from the little girl's story for me is just patience. I had no patience with her. I think she was capable and I could have made it more fun with her. And I chose to keep it very serious. As for Bob, in the beginning of the story, being aware of your students' needs. If you don't know if you don't know what your students need, then you really shouldn't be teaching. That, I'm just going to say it. It's plain out and simple. Do not teach if you don't understand the needs of your students. Otherwise, you're just talking to the air. So I understood that he needed help, but I was ignoring the fact that the other students were saying they were uncomfortable. So that was my fault. And I like doing these stories where I'm at fault because to show people I'm not some amazing person. I'm human and I'm still learning. And everyone right now who is teaching martial arts or is in education, please don't think you know everything. You should be learning every day about a new technique to help every student. Because if you leave that one student behind, no matter how much you hate them, then you're not doing your job. If
you even come to a point where the idea of hate comes up, and you might even back down like, oh, hate's quite powerful, but just like there's something going on, and there's a point of resistance there, and that point of resistance really should be your marker or your guidepost or signpost saying, hey, greatness is right around the corner. But until you work with this, you deal with this, and you get through this, you're not going to find the greatness. You're just going to keep hitting this form of resistance, which is,
you could be teaching the next Bruce Lee or Albert Einstein, but you rob that of them by giving up on them.
Yeah. And you could even become that Bruce Lee or Einstein by working with and through that challenge that you're experiencing. But doing like what I did with the student who was, in my eyes, not promoted appropriately, but hey, whatever. It's like, rather than resisting it and kind of ignoring it and gritting my teeth through it, I should have, like what you said, is that I should have understood my student's needs. I should have actually just understood my student. I didn't understand him, and I didn't choose to, because while he technically was my student because he was in my dojo and he was in my classes, he was ultimately under the guidance of my business partner, who, while he is an awesome martial artist, he still has done things that I question. And by no means am I like free of question either. I mean, like there's things that even I've looked back and I'm like, why did I do that? What was I thinking? And this is like even a perfect example. It's like, why was I ignoring the very clear thing that I knew I needed to do something about and with? I mean, not only talk to my business partner and try to work to understand why he was promoting the student when he did, but it's also to understand my student's needs. What was my student motivated about? Did my student even like martial arts? Because if not, great. I have a different way to approach helping him while he's in martial arts to learn martial arts to hopefully earn his rank, and or to even have conversations with his parents to let them parents know that, hey, he's still going to be in martial arts. He may not promote on the schedule or at all that you would expect. At the same time, he is still benefiting from these experiences. Would you like for him to continue? But instead of doing all that, I essentially ignored it to the best that I could. I grit my teeth and I fought the resistance as opposed to understanding the resistance and working with it to potentially become that Einstein or to help that person become an Einstein.
Right.
So there you go.
I think we did a good job. We definitely need another part 2 on this one, just because I think this one is like a 4-hour episode. We'll do it in parts.
Well, apparently we went over an hour, so, and 15 minutes of it was dealing with talking about beer. So,
that's usually every episode. But all
right, well,
let's wrap it up. I gotta pee. Well, we can finish up in parts 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Well, maybe that will be in a different season. But anyway, so that's all for this episode of the Drunken Fist Podcast. Show notes will be available at drunkenfistpodcast.com. Be sure to subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher. We're all great. Oh, Jesus. We're all great. Podcasts are distributed. This show is made possible by its fans. To learn more, please visit drunkenfistpodcast.com/fans. And thank you, fans, for contributing, because Justin now has a beautiful sounding voice due to his new equipment. And I would like to get some new equipment soon. But anyway, until we hit the mats again, thanks for drinking with us. Prost.
Thanks, guys. Bye.